Welcome to ABC Interactive English. I'm Matt.
I'm Winnie.
Today we're looking at part 2 of our article, Van Life Offers Great Adventures. So one of the things that van life allows you to do is to be on the road all the time. And one popular way to take a trip is to go on a road trip because some people like being on the road. So Winnie, do you like taking road trips?
I actually do. I grew up taking a lot of road trips because I grew up in Singapore and we would go to Malaysia every weekend. And it's a very short road trip, but it was very frequent. But there are also longer road trips that my family and I used to do. For example, we used to go to Australia every year and we would road trip across the Nullarbor, which is this really long, straight road that goes through basically the whole of Australia. And we would take a car and we would park at places like trailer parks where you could see a lot of mobile homes. And we would park our car, we would have our little house, but there were a lot of people that would have their camper vans or their van life vans. And you could see a lot of people, they kind of retire and they don't have a house anymore. They just live on the road.
Yeah, that's very popular in Canada too for retired people to come and take, not a van, but it's actually when you buy a mobile home or an RV, as we'd say, a camping van, and a lot of people tour around Canada on those.
Right, exactly. So instead of buying a holiday home, you could buy a van.
Okay, now let's get into today's article so we can learn more about how to live the van life.
People take up van life for many reasons. The biggest one is the freedom to travel anywhere. It's also a cheap way to travel so they can save money. People choose van life to be closer to nature too.
Hello everyone, today we're looking at part 2 of this article, Van Life Offers Great Adventures. So last time we learned a lot about, what people do to their vans and how they do it so that they can make a tiny home on wheels. And today we're going to learn a bit more about that.
All right, let's get started. People take up van life for many reasons. And we have this phrase to take something up, and it basically means to start or begin an activity. So maybe some people have grown up in a van life, because I do know there's this one family on YouTube where they don't have a house. They just raise their entire family, like 2 kids, 2 parents, and they raise their kids in a van. It's a bigger van, but yeah. So to take up something means to begin something. So yeah, people take up van life for many reasons.
And the biggest one is the freedom to travel anywhere.
Now that's probably would be my biggest reason.
That's right. So freedom means the state of not being restricted or stopped from doing what someone desires or wants to do. So if you have the freedom to travel anywhere, it means that you can travel wherever you want, whenever you want, and you're not being stopped by, having to buy flight tickets or having to book hotels. Because you have your van, you are free to move about, and you could even stay places where there are no hotels because you have your little hotel right with you.
Or you don't need to follow a timetable or a schedule. And we have the word anywhere, and it means to basically whatever place you want to go. You have no limits to where you want to go. So you can stay at any place. Like you said, for example, if there's no hotel in a place that you want to go to, no worries, because you've got a room right in your car. So continuing on, it's also a cheap way to travel. So they can save money.
All right, so cheap meaning inexpensive or not requiring a lot of money. You don't need a lot of money to do something or to have something if it's cheap. Cheap can also sometimes mean lower quality, but not always. You can find some good cheap food, which might be delicious. Sometimes some people prefer street food because it's cheap and delicious.
Right.
But in this case, van life is a cheap way to travel because you don't need hotels and you don't need airline tickets. So these are expensive things that add a lot to the cost of traveling. But if you have your van, then you've already paid your cost to buy the van and to convert the van to a livable space. And now you have that freedom.
Right.
Okay, back to the article. People choose van life to be closer to nature too.
I know that's one of my bigger reasons. Well, when I did have my van, because I love camping, and it's one less thing that you have to pack. You don't have to pack a tent. So you could also go to, more places in nature. So for example, you could just park on the beach.
Yeah, that's very nice. You can be on a beach, be in a forest, be on top of a mountain if the road goes there.
Yeah.
Unless you have an off-road van. But that might make things fall out of place when it gets bumpy. But yeah, so you have the option to really be out in nature. You're not, restricted. You're not held to the roads that are just close to the city where the hotels and things are because, again, you have everything you need with you.
So far, a lot of pros, a lot of benefits to van life. But I'm excited to see what other perks there are after the break.
They visit national parks and camp for a while. Or they pack up their backpacks and go on adventures. Van life isn't for everyone, though. You need to live simply and be able to solve problems. However, if you can do that, then you'll have great adventures with van life.
Welcome back. So before the break, we were talking about some of the reasons that people would choose to live this van life. And the number one reason is, of course, the freedom to travel anywhere you want and not have any schedules or anything like that. Another reason is that it's cheap. It's a lot cheaper than, booking flights or paying for hotels because you can just drive places and then stay in your van. And one more reason was that people choose it to be closer to nature because you can park your van on a beach, on a mountain, in the middle of a field full of flowers.
A lot of options.
Yes.
Well, speaking of nature, continuing on with the article, they visit national parks and camp for a while. And so throughout these two episodes, we use the word camp a lot. In this case, we're using it as a verb and it means the action of staying outdoors. Usually you would use a tent. And the most important part though is that you're outdoors. You're sleeping outdoors because you want to experience nature. You want to hear the birds. You want to smell the fresh air. And you could also set up camp, and that is a noun. And that is when you are maybe starting a fire, pitching a tent. And in this case, for van life, you don't need to do all of that because you kind of already have a tent. It's the back of your van.
That's right. So back to the article. Or they pack up their backpacks and go on adventures. Okay, so to pack up something means to put not all of, but to put things inside something. So for example, with a backpack, or with any bag you'd be putting things inside to fill it so that you are ready to go somewhere. Pack and pack up are different a little bit, only that pack up shows that you are finishing the action. So I could say I'm packing my bags, but if I'm packing up my bags, it implies that I will complete the action and finish it and be done with it.
Right. And also that maybe you continually take things out of the same backpack, but put it back in, back and forth. So just like you guys go to class, you pack up your bags after class. Speaking of backpack, it is a noun and it is the bag that, can carry objects. A lot of us have school bags, right? And we put our books, pencil case inside of a backpack. And we have the word back in backpack, which refers to the bags that have two straps that we can carry on our back. And so continuing on, van life isn't for everyone, though. You need to live simply and be able to solve problems. And I think we've been talking about how nice van life is, but there are a lot of different problems that need a lot of solutions. For example, going to the toilet.
Yeah, that's something that I think is not as attractive about van life, is that you need to bring your toilet with you everywhere you go.
Yeah, and for example, washing your hands after the toilet isn't going to be as easy because it's not like you have an infinite amount of water. You have to carry that water on your van and then also keep the dirty water.
Right, well, these are just some of those problems that you need to be able to solve if you really want to live that van life. So back to the article. However, if you can do that, then you'll have great adventures with van life.
What do you think, Matt? Have you decided on whether or not this is the life for you?
I think this is not the life for me. You know, I don't like camping. I like sleeping in a comfortable bed. So maybe van life is better than camping.
Okay.
But it's still too much out in nature, too much dealing with these problems that I would rather just go on a short trip or a shorter trip and spend my money on a hotel, because that's staying in a nice hotel is one of the enjoyable things about going on a trip.
Okay. So maybe you're not you wouldn't participate in van life, but you would participate in van vacation.
Van vacation, yeah, but I'd still miss out on the hotels.
Oh, okay.
And I like going to airports and flying places, and you get there much faster than driving.
Well, as you know, I'm really scared of flying, so this is actually perfect for me. I stay on the road, on the ground.
That's right. Well, you're well suited for van life, so it's time for you to get your own van back on the road so you can start living that van life.
Well, that's the dream. That's all we have for today, folks, and we hope you learned something. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
People take up van life for many reasons. The biggest one is the freedom to travel anywhere. It's also a cheap way to travel so they can save money. People choose van life to be closer to nature too. They visit national parks and camp for a while. Or they pack up their backpacks and go on adventures. Van life isn't for everyone though. You need to live simply and be able to solve problems. However, if you can do that, then you'll have great adventures with van life.
Hi, I'm Tina. 我们来看这一课的重点单字。第一个 anywhere 副词，随便某个地方。I can work anywhere as long as I have my laptop. 只要我有笔电，我可以在任何地方工作。Laptop 指的就是笔电。下一个单字 cheap 形容词，便宜的。This store sells cheap clothes. 这家商店卖便宜的衣服。下一个单字 camp 动词，露营。We plan to camp by the lake this weekend. 我们计划在这个周末在湖边露营。最后一个单字 backpack 名词，背包。I packed my clothes into the backpack before the trip. 我在旅行前将衣服装进背包里。接着我们来看重点文法。第一个 take up 开始从事，受词大多是新工作啊、新生活或者是新技能等等。我们来看看这个例句。Mike decided to take up photography as a hobby. Mike 决定开始从事摄影这项嗜好。Photography 指的就是摄影。下一个文法 for a while 一阵子一会儿。While 表示一段时间，横为单数形式哦。我们来看看这个例句。Amy stayed in the park for a while before going home. Amy 在公园待了一会儿，然后才回家。最后一个文法 pack up 收拾打包。Pack 指的是整理打包行李。我们来看看这个例句。It's time to pack up your things and go home. 是时候收拾东西回家了。 以上就是这一课的重点单字跟文法，我们下一课再见喽，拜拜。
Kiki, are you okay? You look really scared.
I'm shaking in my boots.
What's wrong?
I just got an email from Sabrina. She said, meet me in the office. We need to talk.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's time to work on our translations, and today's topic is expressing fear. So our first one is 这部电影看得我超毛的。
This movie is really spooky.
Spooky.
Ooh. This movie makes me feel scared.
I feel this movie is freaking me out.
Oh, nice. Yeah, freaking me out. Okay, what about this? 吓得我鸡皮疙瘩掉满地。
Oh. I will say it's freaking me out. I have a lot of goosebumps on the floor.
Very good. Good try. What have we learned today?
The topic for today's translation is expressing fear. The first phrase is, the movie really freaks me out. The phrase freak somebody out can also be creep somebody out. This is used to describe something to be terrifyingly horrific or really, really scary. The second phrase, it gives me goosebumps. Goosebumps refers to the little bumps you get on your skin when you feel a sudden coldness or when you are shocked or scared. So, if you want to describe something to be very scary or someone getting shocked very badly, you can say that something gives somebody goosebumps. Another way to say this could be gives somebody chills. And that's all for translations today. KiWi later!